Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate. Thank you all for joining us tonight. We have episode 21 coming at you right here, right now, tonight at 9 o'clock, a little after 9 o'clock. We're 5 minutes late tonight, folks, but hopefully it won't be that bad. We have a different episode planned for you tonight. What we wanted to do is we're going to talk a little bit about Krayt Cup, because a couple of us from the team have decided to enter into Krayt Cup. So that's going to be that's going to be fun. So we're going to talk about that first. We also are going to talk about the free configuration. So as I'm going through and list building it, which is I was gone all week last week, so I've had plenty of time to bloody list build over the course of the last week while I've been working out of state. And I thought it was a good discussion because some of these squads, all of a sudden, like I'm finding, oh, I can do different things. So, for example, like sensitive, I think it's sensitive controls on Blackout is really awesome. Sensitive controls is actually a really good for free, is really good. So, I wanted to kind of just break down each of the different ones, look at what we used to have for free, and then say, okay, well, hey, hold on a second, here you go. While we got new free ones, how do they compare? Because there's a huge difference between getting the X-Wing foils where you get the extra die if it's in bullseye versus being able to land on a rock. Don't know. Think that's a little bit better, but hey, we'll see. And then we're also going to do a segment where um, Charles and I are going to break down and we're going to do a little bit of theory crafting about what pilot we would add to the game because I like to do something fun and refreshing that not everybody else does. And I really, really enjoy theory crafting. And if you haven't, so I'll tell you what, if Charles cannot say what mine is, because Charles is the only one that knows, if you can guess, it, there'll be a prize for you. So if you could guess it before we get to the end of the show, there'll be a prize. With that being said, let me bring my co-hosts in for tonight. Maybe come on, Charles. Come on, computer. There we are. Welcome to the show, Charles. How are you tonight, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. I'm a little worn down. I had to work an 8-hour shift before arriving for the podcast, which is why we were 5 minutes late. So my apologies to everybody that has hung out with us and come in. Hey, Nobby, hey, Psych J, and everybody. But other than that, I'm doing really good. Kind of dove down the rabbit hole of a new card game this weekend. Started playing Flesh and Blood, which was a lot of fun. Hey, Twitchy. And so just looking forward to the new horizons that gives and maybe different play styles that I can incorporate into X-Wing due to crossover between it and the card game.
Yeah, and so can we start out with I talked about Flesh and Blood just for 30 seconds because my stepson has been continued to barrage me and it's always on the day he wants me to come on the days that we stream. It's always like, "Oh, hey, you want to go on Sunday?" "No, I got to prep for the show." "Oh, you want to go Tuesday?" "Well, this week Tuesday we're actually going to be streaming Krayt Cup stuff on the network. So they'll actually have an extra day streaming this week." "Oh, you want to do it next Saturday?" "No, I got other plans to stream playing in person on Saturday." Um, but he has Scumpo. All right, you guys better be. I gotta keep track of that. But this game is intriguing because he essentially he broke it down to me that it's similar to Destiny without dice. There's a difference in how you have it, so it's kind of like a mixture of Destiny without dice and Magic the Gathering. That's how we explained it. So why don't you tell me a little bit about it, Charles, while we start the show?
So the major difference that I see is that in Magic, it's two wizards fighting to drain each other's health points, utilizing creatures and other things like that. This game is different fundamentally because it's designed to be played like hand-to-hand combat. So think like two gladiators pitched against each other in an arena setting. So there is no mana screwed because you don't have mana. Each card is both offense, defense, and your resources. So your deck comprised, there's really not a way to draw a bad hand or an unusable hand. And the way the game goes is in phases, just like in Destiny. So if I was the active player, I would initiate an attack against you. You would then take cards out of your hand to defend with. Now, every card that you use for defense is one less card that you get on your turn as the active player.
Hmm.
So I have one action point that I spend to attack you for, say, 3 damage, and you decide, looking at your hand, that you want to block 2 of it. So one goes through to your hero, and they lose one of their health. Then I draw back up to my intellect or my minimum hand size, which in most cases is 4 cards from what I've seen. And then the turn passes to you, in which you initiate attack. So because you draw at the end of your turn is the active player, what I do to defend against your onslaught affects what I am going to be able to then generate as my offensive power.
So this is like
So
kind of the Decipher game to some extent. That's like big elements of Decipher.
yes. It plays like, I don't know if anybody's done like the Universal Fighting System or the Universes system that's out there now. But it plays very similar to that. And the other thing that I enjoy is the cards that you pitch for your resources go to the bottom of your deck. So you're constantly cycling through, and you get to put the cards that you pitch on the bottom of the deck in the order of your choice. So you can actually build some interesting end game offense based on how you're pitching cards if you're good at keeping track of how many cards are left and where these combos are coming in. So I went to a welcome event this weekend. They gave everybody a starter deck that was ninja, so it's a lot of combos and a lot of small damage. I bought a couple of blitz decks, which are like the pre-constructs. I won a play mat and a bunch of packs. It's a lot of fun. Like, I brought 3 people that had never played it before, and each one of them dropped close to $200 on product because they enjoyed playing the game that much. And just the art on the cards is beautiful. I love that it doesn't play like any other game that I've like any other singular game. Like, it's got little bits and pieces of a bunch of other card games that I've played. But it stands alone by itself, and it's very interesting. It's complex and simple at the same time. Because you can just play it at the base level of attack versus defense. But then when you get into the depth of the game and actually trying to build combos and pitch the right card to get the right combo to go off and being able to stack your actions and everything. The game is called Flesh and Blood, Twitchy. Psych J, we play at House Rules on Saturdays if you're bored and want to come up. I do not know if there is a Flesh and Blood TTS mod. If there is, that would be freaking cool. But it's a lot of fun. So it's like, Jay, hit me up later if you want. I can bring some decks up to Flesh and Blood or up to House Rules. And you and I can throw down, man. I can teach you the game and see if it's something that bit you as well as it bit me. So
All right. Well, that sounds good. I'm still being hesitant. I probably should get into it, but it's like I've spent all this time building my X-wing collection. I really just want to play X-wing. Like, in the long
sure.
run, I think that's just where it came down.
I think for me, the reason that Flesh and Blood kind of jumped out is that with X-Wing, there is a lot to travel with. So, like, if I was coming to Michigan for a Flesh and Blood tournament, I pack 2 decks and some dice, and I'm good. With X-Wing, I've got to bring my list, I got to bring my ships, I got to bring, everything that needs to come with it. And then the average setup, breakdown, and all of the stuff that goes into X-Wing, I love, but it makes like short games very hard to do because you've got a setup which takes 15 to 20 minutes. You've got the hour and 15-minute timer, and then the breakdown and putting everything away. So you're looking at 2 to 2.5 hours of total investment for a quick game with your buddy. Whereas Flesh and Blood gives me the ability to nerd out, and all I have to do is open my deck, shuffle it, and we're good to go. So
Fair
that's why
enough.
it kind of spoke to me. But I still
Yep.
love X-Wing, and I'm not leaving X-Wing. So
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. He's working on me. I basically my goal will be to essentially not buy anything except for like whatever the tournament things are and just play whatever decks he has, and then essentially if I win anything, sell it to him or somebody else that wants it. And then like I don't
yeah.
need any more mats. I mean, I guess I'll take one mat. I would take one mat to play the game with, but um anyway, so let's move on past non X-Wing
So,
stuff.
yeah,
I
this
just
is not a Flesh and Blood
no,
podcast, but still cool.
no. I guess if we ever get good, if you get good enough, Charles, maybe we'll do an offshoot. Um there you go.
We'll see.
All
We
right,
do have the calling coming up in like 3 weeks here in Orlando that I'm probably going to buy into just to go and sit down and be able to play. So
fair enough. So I bring it up the stream. So last 2 weeks ago we talked about this. I apologize. I was traveling last week and I didn't feel like bringing my whole setup, so I can't run TTS on my laptop and Streamlabs at the exact same time, because I use two computers for that. So I apologize to anybody that signed up last week. So essentially, what you're seeing is I will clear people's names out once they played. If it's a permanent thing where they're just like, I want to play every week, maybe I'll add another column. But essentially, this is kind of our stream sign up sheet. And the way I have it set up is every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. and the second game at 9 p.m. And essentially, I should probably put in here that's Eastern time, because that's the time frame we live in right now. Um, and so I just forgot that. So if you do play a different time zone, I will add another column in here for time zone so everybody can have that as well. Morning Wookie. And essentially what it is it the same thing is just the only reason I need the list ahead of time is not so your opponent knows, but essentially so that I can put you. And what we'll do is the way we're doing it is anybody that has signed up will be able to play. Um if we have more than 4 people, then I guess what we'll do is we'll have to start taking, like, weeks and putting people on different weeks. So this week I have one open spot. I gotta contact Sean, make sure he's still gonna be available for this week. But we'll have our 7:30 slot, our 9 o'clock slot, we're actually gonna move to 10. That way Bosner can play, or Bozy, I don't know what she prefers to go by. And he's gonna be playing Jason essentially this week for the second show. So if you want to get in on the action, just that's the idea here is put the day. I put an example and put whatever day the dates you actually want to play. Give me your desired time. I'll add a time zone in here afterwards. I need your Discord name, what name you want me to display. They can be the same. And then whatever your preferred format is. If we have opposing formats, then Charles is going to be the executor of the decisions for that. So just so everybody knows at a time, Charles gets to make decisions.
That's dangerous, but sure, I'm in.
You're in. You're my decision maker.
So
So
you're
anyway,
like my wife. Fantastic.
hey, it's good to be that. And yes,
Yeah.
if we do have people that want to play an epic game, I will run an epic game. That's fine. We could do that. Um, I will say if we do an epic game, it'll probably have to be where we're all in the same room, just so you know ahead of time, because it'll be very hard to do an epic game and you have 100 rules questions and have somebody jumping in and out. But we can do that, and that is something that we can do. Um, for the show. So, and yes, I actually would play an epic game. I've played a couple of them now, so I feel comfortable with them. All right, so let's move on to the Krayt Cup real quick. I'm gonna readjust my screen here. Y'all can see. Essentially, and I didn't know this, and Charles, I don't know if did you hear about the Krayt Cup from somewhere else? Somebody posted about it in the Discord, and I don't
I
remember. It
think
was
I think it
John.
was John. John posted and was like, "Hey, this sounds fun." And I saw that it was a 3-person, like team base event, and was like, "Hey, I suck just not enough that I wouldn't drag a team down if somebody wanted to play. And John's good enough, so we need someone to fill the gap between not great and not horrible." And you were like the perfect person for that because you're the only other competitive X-Wing player I know at that level. So I signed us up, and here we are.
Yeah, so essentially what this is it's gonna be, I don't know how many weeks is this? This is like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, something like that.
It's somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly how many it is, but each week is going to be 3 people from each team phase. So it's going to be team versus team, and each week you draw, and then the 3 people kind of get paired against each other within the team versus team setup. From what I've seen so far,
Yep. And they had special list building rules. Essentially, there was some pilot bans, that went along.
from what I gathered, there were some minor changes, but for the most part, when I looked at the list builder they created, it was anything that had been released since the inception of 2.0 was allowed. Anything that was 1.0 or what would be considered extended, was not allowed to the build. And then there were certain cards that were just kind of removed. I don't know what they were because I didn't build anything that involved them. And then you're building a list of ships only. And then once you see your opponent's list, you can add upgrades to build up to the 200 points, knowing what you're going to be facing based on what your ships have available. So,
Yep. So since they officially have open lists up, so I guess I was not going to cover our list, but we're going to go through our list real quick because they opened the list up so everybody could see them anyway. We were going to keep them hidden, but essentially they did that. So my list comes in at 185. I have 7 drones, I3s, and DGS 47. So they will all have the configs on them, and then I picked very large obstacles for mine. So
I'm
um
not, I would say I'm surprised, but that would be a lie.
yeah. So I'm taking the swarm approach for our list. So the nice thing about this is I don't have to worry about if I want to put discords or any of these other things on here. I literally will be able to just make a decision when I see who I'm playing against. So that the nice thing is because I only have 15 points to play with, discords essentially takes up. So if I don't want the discords, I don't have to have them. Um uh, I like independent calculates, but John and I are arguing about that right now. So if John gets home, he can argue with me in the chat. But that is I like that on this list personally, and I think it's going to depend if I'm going to go up against like a whisper list, I'm going to put independent calculates on whether John likes it or not. Because essentially being able to have those extra calculates is just going to it's going to work for jamming really well. Charles, your list.
Oh yeah. My list, so I had built a variance of this list that I played on Nickel City last week, and it was a lot of fun. In which I had Anakin in the Y Wing with Ahsoka in the gunner slot, and then I had 4 V Wings. Started looking at how often I was able to use the Ahsoka ability coupled with the Anakin ability in the Y Wing, and it was really only once per turn. So dropping down from Anakin to R2D2 in the Y Wing also gave me a crew slot, so I can still put someone like Ayala Sakura in there, which gives me the coordinate rather than it just being a focus action. And then I was actually able to squeeze in another V Wing. So I wound up with 5 V Wings and then R2D2 in the Y Wing. And have the ability to fit in counter nets. I can do synchronized consoles if I want to have them. I can do R3, or is it the R4 astromech that makes your 1s and 2s easier? So then the only reds that the V Wings have with that astromech on them, the only
Sure.
reds they have are the turnarounds. Everything else is white or blue. So lots of variants, lots of options for upgrades. This comes in at 161. So I've got 39 points available for various upgrades, to be able to put on and kind of Frankenstein this list as I need to. So I'm super
Yes.
excited about it.
So thermals on those would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's what 25 points plus your Besh upgrade, which is another 5 points. So for 30 points, you still have 9 points left, even if you put thermals and that Besh on all of them.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't go thermals just because I want to have Ayala Sakura on the Y Wing.
Gotcha.
It gives a force point for a defensive mod if I need it, but it also gives that the purple coordinate. So I can utilize the ability to target lock or focus with those ships, and then whoever has the best shot, I can coordinate as they're all I2. I can coordinate an additional mod to them to give them a stronger shot as well. So it's a lot of fun.
Yep. So John's list is 4 T65 X-Wings and Nora in the Y-Wing. So we don't know what upgrades John's gonna use. He didn't tell us, but we kind of we kind of let John go ahead and help us with the list. Essentially, Charles is team captain, but John is the highest win rate guy. So
Yeah, John is team captain. I'm the figurehead.
Yeah. You're the pretty face. You're the pretty face, boy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the pretty face.
Pretty face. But yeah, so all the upgrades just didn't have to be on there. So I've never played in a Krayt Cup ever, so this was new to me. I wanted to do something different because we've been playing in the GSP stuff, and this kind of just gives a better, a nicer outlet to do something that was team oriented for our team. And John's name for the team was Padme's.
Padme's private Snapchat.
There you go.
Because it's the same initials as the planning Phase Syndicate, which is what I registered us as. So if you're looking at the Krayt Cup lineup, we are Padme's private Snapchat.
Yeah. So it was just, I don't know, like I said, it seemed like a fun thing. I'd never done this before. It was kind of one of the things that I wanted to do. Um, Try some of these other variations, and this one just happened to open up, I don't know, roughly at the same time we had enough time to actually do things, you know.
So apparently Nabi saw our team name and had a laugh at it. So
Yeah, it was supposed to be the just kind of a ha 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 thing for that. We're not going to go through any of the other lists. We are going to be, and I'll say this at the end of the show too. We are going to be streaming at least 2 of our games on Tuesday. I have a game, and so does uh John on Tuesday. And
my game
so,
is tomorrow.
yep. So if we can get in, if we can get somebody to stream it tomorrow, we'll be doing tomorrow's stream. I don't know what time you guys are going, but
Hey, real
um,
quick, do we have time for an impromptu segment?
sure.
Can we pull my opponent's list and poll the chat to see what they think I should be?
Oh my
I
god,
don't know if
no,
that's outside the tournament rules. I
we're
don't
not.
want to.
Yeah, we're not gonna do that. So the time for yours, if we stream Charles, the time is 5 p.m. Eastern time. So
Yeah, I believe we set on. I don't remember. We're table 16, right?
yeah, the problem is I go to my locals on Mondays. So
Yeah, we're shooting for 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So 2 hours before now. I'm not sure that I'll be able to stream it or anything like that. If I can get a hold of John and he can help me get my setup up and running, I might be able to record it to be able to put up on the stream later. But I don't know if I'll be able to stream because I don't have the same setup that Chris does.
yeah, so I think it's gonna depend. The problem is I have to give up my locals on Monday, and I've given up my locals for the last 3 weeks. So
Right.
I have new ships to run. Haha,
No, no,
Nabi.
not two.
He's it's
Yeah.
because he's in Australia. It's Tuesday for you, buddy. um, yeah. So, but we will be streaming. So Nabi's time it will be Wednesday morning. For American time it will be Tuesday night. We're gonna do streaming, and yes, I'm still gonna do streaming on Thursday. So it's just I guess I'm just gonna be busy this week. So, but I
You
wanted
guys
to.
get so much more of us. So
I didn't want to cancel any of our stream on Thursday, and I really wanted to stream these Krayt Cup games if we can do it as well. So they're gonna let
absolutely.
us. I was kind of surprised. So all right, so let's move in. We're not gonna go through your list, Charles.
No, no, we're fine.
Y- you
I don't want to go outside the tournament rules, and I think that
you
might
and I
put me
can
in
do
a.
that later tonight. That's fine. Um, so what I wanted to talk about was free configurations, right? Free configurations.
I'm a scum player. I don't know what that is.
You don't know what Scum play? I know. Actually, I looked in Scum. There's no configuration.
There's no configurations.
I literally I couldn't believe that. I was like, oh, nope, okay, nope, no configurations in Scum. That's weird, right? So is there a reason for that? Is that like there's something I should know about?
No, not necessarily. I think so. The thing is configurations are purely something that was new for 2.0. In 1.0, there were a lot of ship titles. So like with the Fang Fighter, the Protectorate Starfighter was a title that you could put on there. For the Star Viper title was something that you could put on there. Um, when it became 2.0 and those ships come over from the 2.0, um, they just became chassis abilities for those ships. So there was no way to have a Fang Fighter without the Concordia ability. There was no way to have the Star Viper without the bendy barrel roll. They just became the ship chassis ability rather than a configuration. So,
So then, and again, maybe excuse my ignorance, I guess, right? Like, so then my question is when we move to 2.0, why did they start with new configurations? I mean, oh, for example, X-Wings never are without S foils, right? S foils are stapled to them, right?
mhm.
Period. Even if you never use them, they're stapled. So why did we go to that and just not add some of those configuration type things into the like into the text? Is it just because it's too wordy?
It might be. There's probably like Psych J said. There's probably design space for future configurations, and we have a similar thing to a configuration on the M3A with the hard point, right? Because I can add in a cannon, I can add in a turret, or I can add in not a turret, a cannon or torpedo or a missile onto that hard point. And in 1.0, that was kind of a configuration. I think it's the closest thing we've got to it, but it's just because a configuration represents a ship existing in two states within a battlefield setup, right? The Protectorate or the Concordia face off is not something you turn off on a ship. Like you don't rotate your wings north and south orientation and all of a sudden you lose it, right? It's always there. And the Star Viper's bendy barrel roll was not a configuration because there was no way to turn it off. It's built into that ship. So with the X-wing, because it represents modular movement of the wings, and the same for the legs on your droids, right? There's some droids that never land on a rock, and there are some droids that are built to land on the rock. So because both ships exist within canon with that separate without any real change in the ship type, I think that's the purpose for the configuration. And I can't think of a scum based ship that does any of that.
All right. So the configurations that I looked up that I saw, right? And again, I believe the pivot wing was always free, but I can't remember because I never fly U-wings. Um, but we have the OS1 Arsenal loadout, the XG1 Arsenal configuration, integrated S foils and server motor S foils, right? And the pivot wing. Those are all the original free ones that they had. And
Hmm.
and I'm pretty sure the pivot wing was free because I believe Matt used to take that all the time because he bought that Saws Renegade pack right away when he started buying Rebel, and I used to
Hmm.
have to face that thing, and I hated dealing with that damn thing because it would rotate on you. Then I was like, and then he's like, "Well, it's just like your droid." It's like, "All right, fine, fair enough." Um,
It's just a big base version of your droids.
yeah, and the difference is that you would when you'd had that you did that, his can do it anywhere, mine has to be on a rock, you know.
Hmm.
That's the main difference. So, all right, so yeah, I did not know gunboats cost one or two. So okay, so really there was only three configurations that were free then.
Hmm.
Um, so the question I had, Charles, first off, is in first edition, did your T65s cost less because they didn't have that configuration as a free configuration? Like when we went to 2.0, did you see your X-Wings jump in price? I mean, I know you personally never do anything, but for somebody
Sure.
like a John, you know.
Um, so I think the hard part in going in comparing the 1.0 to 2.0 again is in 1.0 everything was cheaper because you were building a 100 point list instead of a 200 point list. So there wasn't the design space really to add those in. Um, but no, in 1.0 there was nothing. X-wings just existed.
So how
Um,
much did they how much were they?
one moment. Let me get to
Oh, you're gonna
the
look it up,
I will go look it up right now.
killing me. All right. So while you look that up, so I think for me that kind of became like an interesting tech feature, right? Because now they're making all these configurations cheaper, right? Not everything, but a lot of them all became cheaper, and they decided they were going to do all these different things um before.
So to put into position, right? If we were to look at the Cavern Angel Zealot
Yep.
as a basis, the base X-wing with no upgrades, no elite slot, no astromech, no modification, no torp. was 22 points. So out of 100 points, it was almost 25% of your list. When we look at Yasby now
They're
and
not
do
that much.
the Cavern Angel Zealot now in the T65 setup. Sorry, Cavern Angel Zealot's 38 points, so 40 out of 200. That's 1/5. So yeah, they got a lot cheaper.
Okay.
When you compare how much of a list it used to take up, because you can fit 5 T65s into a list now, whereas in 1.04 was all you could fit. Even if you went with the cheapest X-Wing pilot, which was the rookie pilot at 21, you were still only getting 4 because they were specifically costed to not put 5 X-Wings in a list.
That's sad. Anyway. So okay, so that makes so that kind of makes sense then, right? So and again, yes, we get to see points changes. So not everything is apples to apples, right?
Right.
Um, so I don't know. Do you have your TTT up, Charles, or no?
I can have it up just one moment.
Why don't
You're
we
talking about
bring
the
up?
pull cards?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and bring up some of the cards, and then that gives us the ability to bring up pilots if we want to. Because the first thing we have is you have your S foils, right, which are now free on X wings. And if you want to go ahead and bring those cards up or one of those cards up, that'd be great. And then we'll kind of go from there.
2 seconds here. I'm getting into it right now. All right, logged in. Boom. What did you want me to bring up?
Bring up your Silver Mortal S foils. Any of the two S foils, just to begin with. There you go. Oh, they're not going to show us the other side of the card, are they? Yeah. So
I can flip it and go. There you go.
nope, they're both the same.
2 seconds. Bam. There we go. No.
They're all the same.
So I selected closed. I promise I did.
That's fine.
But
It's
yep.
probably a
No.
fault in TTT. Um,
So
okay,
I'll get
so
rid of
you
2
go
of
ahead and
those.
get rid of it. All I was gonna say is because I believe they're the boost with the bullseye type thing or whatever. So there's that. So why don't you go ahead and bring up stabilized S foils? You know what? This is gonna be a pain in the butt if they don't. If I guess bring up stabilized S foils and see if that does it. If not,
It only shows the open side. It looks like because I selected closed on that one specifically.
so do me a favor and select open and real quick and see if they're identical. Okay. All right. So we will not be looking at cards. Here we go. I'll just switch the scene
Okay.
back. We'll move back. So essentially the first card and that they had was those stabilized S foils for those B wings went to 0 points. Um, they raised the cost a little bit of the chassis, but they made those S foils free. So Charles, in your opinion, do you think that those affect the B wing? Is that something you want to just staple onto those B wings at this point?
Give me 2 seconds because I'm reading what the stabilized does. Perform. So it gives it the double tap. When they're open, it gives the double tap with a cannon upgrade. There's no reason to not take it, right? If you don't want to use it, then you just keep them closed. If you don't want to build a cannon into your B wing, there's no reason to not. Personally speaking, but I don't know. I don't see at 0 cost. There's no reason to not to.
Yep. And I think the other thing that you get with it is because you get that linked action. So that immediately becomes a staple then, in my opinion. That's
Mhm.
that's an immediate staple because you're getting a free linked action of some sort. It's not free. We all know it's not free. There's a cost to it, but it's a B wing. You get rid of your stress pretty easily. Um, so the next one that they have is sensitive controls. And that's the one that a lot of people are, people question taking it because it costs money. And then everybody said, well, if we had it for free, we would be able to, we could go ahead and have that, right?
Well, and
And
I think the downside to sensitive controls that I remember, and this is as a scum player, so I don't really get a chance to use the sensitive controls, was that it was standardized. So if you decided that you were taking it, you decided you were taking it for everybody. And I think that in itself, I mean, at this point, there's no reason to not to. other than the fact that you lose auto thrusters. So there's a downside to putting sensitive controls on, whereas when you put the title on the B-wing, you don't lose anything. Right? When you put the configuration on the X-wing, you don't lose anything from the X-wing. You're not losing an ability of the ship on either the B-wing or the X-wing configurations. With this particular configuration, if I decide to use it, then I lose that auto thrusters ability. So now there is a choice in how I want to fly the ship. Whereas with the X-wing and the B-wing, it changes nothing other than it gives me extra stuff, so it's a no-brainer.
That's kind of that's different, right? Right? That because this vector cannon is the next one for the RZ1s. That's kind of the same thing, right? Because during the system phase, you may perform a red boost or barrel or rotate action, whereas before it was always like an afterthought. So, who is a good one? I don't know. I guess we just bring hair up, right?
Yeah. Is there another A-wing?
I don't
Nobby.
know.
Nobby,
Navi.
who's a good A-wing to
Um.
represent vectored cannons? Who's a good
So
A-wing to distribute that?
what you lose is after you perform here I think. After you perform an action, you get that boost, right? So you're performing the action. With Jake, that changes it. So then now all of a sudden with these vector cannons, during the system phase, you may perform that red boost, right? So you're doing it essentially beforehand. The rotate, I think, is huge because it allows you to rotate your turrets on this. So um yeah, I think the problem with this one, whereas sensitive controls is not as big of a deal. In my opinion, with sensitive controls, the difference is you're pre-positioning like a Jedi, because you're going to clear that stress, and you're not getting stress at the end. It also would help against lists that utilize aggressive amounts of stress to try to screw you over, like Lando, or who's the other one that does that?
Torgal.
Anybody that carries a 000, there you go, or BT1,
So
as they call it, a scum crab.
here's my question, and I'll dive down this rabbit hole a little bit with you in the chat. Um, does the fact that there is no more bidding for first or second movement change whether or not you want to pre-position during the system phase or you want to post position? Since it's assigned at random now, is it something where you'd rather just pre-position ahead of time and then do your maneuvers that way? Or do you see more of an advantage in the post position after move?
Yeah, and see, and the issue is, like, for me, the bigger issue would be is I'm used to the post position boost completely. Like, for me, it is. But I could tell you I've ran those sensitive controls on interceptors before, when they cost 2 points, and I loved it. I thought it was great on, especially on low initiative interceptors. It allowed me to do weird maneuvers that I was not able to do beforehand, and with to block on a higher level, like with my Soonser Fell, I hated it. It was literally the worst. I could not stand it. I didn't understand how to fly it. But again, when I threw it on Blackout, I loved it because I could fly up to a rock, shoot you, barrel roll the next turn, as long as I didn't take stress, right? So on some ships, I think it's a huge advantage, personally.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I don't like the standardization. I do think standardization it creates a problem, especially with vector cannons. Like, if we didn't have to have standardization on these vector cannons here, I would 100% take it, because I would not want vector cannons as much with it, just with some of those higher initiatives, because I would like that boost afterwards. Um, and I don't know. I guess with Jake it still works, right? I mean, technically Jake still performs an action, can pass that or give somebody else a focus. So as long as they're not stressed, they Jake's crap still works. So
Yeah, it just works during the system phase because you're boosting pre-position, so you're able to pass actions before anybody moves,
yeah,
which is
you know,
not bad.
yeah. So maybe it's a benefit that we're just not seeing. The TIE Defender Elite card, I think we can just move past this. I don't know what to say. Like, Yeah, you get to give up
Burn
your
it.
free evade. No
Burn
thank
it.
Yep,
No one's
no
gonna
thank
do
you.
that.
Who wants to give up a free evade on a 70-point ship?
I mean, to be able to double tap might not be bad, but it's standardized, so you're gonna lose it on all 3 or all 2 of the defenders you have in your list.
Yeah, so the only way I see this being good is if you have a low initiative defender that you wanna use as, basically just let's get rid of this ship. Come shoot at this one. But not getting that free evade is so hard. I don't know.
I
Is
don't
it
know,
hard? I
their
can't catch
stat
Aaron.
line is not their stat line is not terrible. You know what I
Uh,
mean? They're 3 green, 3 attack ships. Their stat line is not horrible. Not being able to turn around for free. Yes, it takes that weapon out of their arsenal, but they're still not horrible ships.
no, but I don't know if I'm not so excuse me, I'm not sold on that portion of it, I guess.
I mean, in 1.0, you had the option to get rid of the white 4K. Because at 1.0, there were 2 different TIE Defender titles that you could take. One allowed you to have the white 4K and one did not. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And Defender, like, I like Defenders. I wish they were a little cheaper. I wanna see a Defender meta. I think it would be
I
fun.
do not want to see a
I know you
Defender
don't.
meta.
You know I'd be flying them. I own 4 of them, so let me put 4 generic on the table.
Nope.
Yeah, so you could take that TIE Defender title and you could give me negative points with it. There you go. I have no interest in or do something where if I take it, my ship costs 15 points less. Sure,
I
I'll
agree,
take it then.
Nobby. I agree. You do not want 3 or 4 defenders on the table. No, you
I
do
do.
not.
You say you don't, Nubby. I say I do because it's 50-50. We play mirror match. I got 50% chance I'm going to win.
I
Everybody
mean,
before can shoot 4K.
technically speaking, no matter what you sit down across the table, whether it's a mirror match or not, there's only 2 people playing, so you always have
Oh
a
my god.
50% chance you're going to win.
Haha. Dad joke jail for you.
There was
All
not a
right.
dad joke. It's mathematics.
It's not. All right. The next one is maneuver assist MGK 300. So this became, I believe this is free now. According to my notes, this is free. I didn't know this was free, but all right. Even crazier, right? And this one is not as good as the other one, but I still like this one a lot, especially with it being 3 or free. I get that calculate or a barrel roll red calculate, and the reduces the difficulty of all of my 3 straight and bank maneuvers. Now, if this said it reduced the not just threes but all of them, this would be an immediate staple to every ship. I don't need the other one that gives me 2 calculates for everybody in my firing arc. I'll take this. You give me this and make it so it's not just threes, 100%. Um, I still think with this being free, this is pretty big, personally. Um, I really like this. I actually own 4 of these type RBs, and I've
So
been looking forward to putting them on the table.
so what would you want it to be? Because I'm looking at the basics maneuver for the heavy, and the 1 straight and 2 straight are already blue.
But it's also the bank maneuvers, Charles.
Right, and the 2 banks are already blue. So
Are
you
my
want 1 bank blues?
1 bank blue, yep, and 3 bank blues. So I want my 1 bank blues 100%. Um, and then my 3 banks. So basically make all my 1 through 3 maneuvers that are banks blue.
And you want that for 0 cost.
Yeah. Those ships suck.
No, they definitely do. I'm not disagreeing with you, but
Yeah. Again, yes. I just think that, the threes, whatever. I mean, it's nice to have to be able to do the threes. You just become predictable. So,
yeah, Nabi says he wants heroic for 0 cost too.
I'm actually not 100% opposed to that either, Nabi. So, just personally. And I didn't create this configuration. And as we saw in hyperspace, you don't even need heroic, it seems. All right. The next one is the enhanced jamming suite.
I want advanced sensors back for Guri.
I agree with you, though. We had that conversation last week. I don't actually disagree with you. So,
Do we need to go into this again?
not really. I think this is BS. I don't want this to be free. I don't want to take this as a staple.
I
So,
agree, Nobby. I agree. This needs to have a cost. Lower
and
the
I
cost of the ship, add points to the enhanced jamming suite. And
no, don't add
yes.
it.
Oh no,
No, no.
100%. You do not get white linked actions. I don't give a crap.
You do because it costs so bloody much. On
It
Kylo
doesn't
Ren, it was a
cost you anything. It's free.
no. They up. We know for a fact. Catherine confirmed last week that they upped the price on every one of those damn ships. So I think I'll tell you in GSP, this wasn't like this huge splash though. So they were good. They did make top cuts, but it wasn't like this huge splash where everybody ran them and everybody who ran these make up. So the boogeyman is not as much of a boogeyman. But no, we don't need to get back into that because I don't really care. The next one though, that is kind of interesting is the repulsatory lifts. Is that how you say that?
The
Repulsor
repulsor
lifts?
lifts.
Yeah. I guess I don't know how to. Oh, we're probably not going to get the other side of it. These are free now. I know they up the cost of the chassis. I don't agree with these being free. I mean, they are pretty great, but
What's an NPE?
negative play experience.
Is false transponder codes a negative play experience?
No. I think that at a low cost it becomes overburdening, but it's not really a negative play experience in my opinion. It was easy to play around once you know how to play around it.
You just burn your first lock action that you can get, and
Yeah.
it's gone for the rest of the game.
Yeah, it was yeah, I guess in some lists that you couldn't have like DK1 probe droids, like but whatever, yeah, false transponder codes. Here you go, just go take a lock at range 7. I don't care, you know. Um, I don't know. I don't. I personally think FTC could have just it should just have the points increase and we all move on. I don't think it's that big of a deal because it's the spammability of these things that people care about, and they created it so you can't have more than 4 effing whispers in a list. Trust me, I would be able to run 5 if I could without that game suite, and I would do it. So I have a fun list that we
I
should
have,
play.
Nobby. I have. And yes, I don't I enjoyed the 5 charges from Jabba, but you limit your ships because Jabba only fits on 2 ships in Scum.
Yep.
You have to have a Falcon or you have to have a YB666 and you have to give up 2 crew slots to have Jabba.
Yeah, and that's still only one faction. And again, Jabba went up. So no, I don't think Jabba's oppressive either. Jabba went up in points. Whether I agree with, I don't agree that it was. I think it went up higher than they should have, personally.
I hate
But
Jabba so much. And okay, I'm going to go on a rant, Chris. I'm sorry.
all right, go ahead. It's all
In
you,
one
bro.
point in 1.0, Epic came out. You got these big cool looking ships, right? Rebel got the Carillion Corvette, and with it they got C3PO. This uber powerful, like ridiculous card that was so cool that the first thing that FFG did was make an alt art and put it into an OP kit so everybody could get it without having to spend $100 on the ship, right? Then Empire comes and they get their Raider, and with the Raider came Palpatine. Palpatine again, uber powerful card, ridiculously powerful card, ridiculously good card. So for the longest time, that was it for Epic. You had Rebel and you had Empire. Then they announced that Scum is going to get their first ship. They're going to get the Sea Rock Cruiser. They're finally going to get to dive into Epic play. And everybody was, oh God, what kind of overpowered card is Scum going to get? What did we get? Jabba. You know what? Nobody ever played Jabba. Since its release in 1.0, with the exception of the one tournament where someone decided to play it and run it to beef up false transponder codes, Jabba has been trash since release. Period. End of story. It's the worst card ever. They brought it to 2.0 and it's still terrible. However, 3PO is still good. Palpatine is still good. Whether it's Chancellor or Emperor Palpatine and you're in Republic or you're Empire, still good. Scum still has squat. Jabba is just god awful. Can only be played on 2 ships. It's terrible. I hate it. I don't know. Give us something other than Java.
You ain't getting anything because in Epic now they don't in Epic they don't give you the same thing that they used to. Like, so you're not getting like cards in Epic that we used to get, like you guys used to get. Like, because I got a Saj in Separatist when I bought the Squid Billy, right? And I can't run it outside of Epic. It would be awesome to have a Nasaj first crew, especially for what she does, but nope,
Oh,
can't
agreed.
use it. If you don't know what she does, maybe we'll do that later. I don't know. I really like that card. I've rented on that damn ship every time. Every time. Yeah. And I agree. Yeah. Don't give me cards in Epic because I don't want to be forced to buy an Epic ship for one effing card. Okay, so
Mhm.
here you go. Here's a little story. When I first got into it, I needed that stupid Palpatine card and nobody explained to me. So I chased the Raider down for a long time until I found out that the Raider doesn't come with the upgrade expansion. If you want the upgrade expansion, you have to buy the Epic Ship expansion to convert
Mhm.
all your 1.0 stuff. And so I chased the stupid Palpatine card, I don't know, for like 2 months. And then I finally got pissed off. And then finally somebody explained to me, like, Chris, you don't have to do this. You can either just buy the one of the expansion kits and you can have it.
Yep.
I was like, hmm. Anyway, so I'm happy they don't have any cards in Epic
Do you
anymore.
know how many do you have any copies of A or how many A-Wings I bought in 1.0 to get Prockets? Because it was the only ship that came with Prockets. You couldn't get it for Scum, so if you wanted the Procket card, you had to buy A-Wings to get it. And I was not a Rebel player, so anytime I wanted an upgrade card that was not innately found in a Scum ship, I had to buy a ship that was out of a faction that I never played and then resell the ship to somebody who played it minus the upgrade card.
So how many A-Wings do you have?
I don't own any
Oh,
because
you got rid of them all. Okay.
what I would do is I would buy the A-Wing for 14.99, crack the pack, take out the Prockets, and then sell it to someone for 10 or $12 minus the Prockets because most Rebel players had sorry, Dobby, I'm a Scum player, man. I when I got into X-Wing, the agreement that I made with my significant other was that it was not going to be a whole money sink, and I could just pick one faction to sink my money into. And so I was wholly a Scum player. I always have been. I dabble in Republic now, but if you were to look at my collection, it is 100% Scum.
How many V-Wings do you own?
Ask me that again in about a week and a half
Okay.
because
We
I'll
won't
have
tell
5.
your wife. Don't worry.
I'll have. Oh, she already knows. I told her they're for Vegas, so I have 5.
All right. So let's go back to the conversation at hand. Okay. So going back to the repulsor lifts, right? So really, you could kind of put repulsor lifts, landing struts, and grappling struts. All of those can kind of go into like one little box. And I know my droids went up a point, but I mean, again, so you're a non-separatist player, but you have to deal with people like me all the time. I mean, they made grappling struts free. Does this make it easier for you, Charles? Or repulsor lists? Does it just make it easier when you see these lists across from you to know they can always do these things?
I hate these chips. They don't make sense. In my brain, they don't make sense. I don't like them. They're
So
terrible. I
you're
hate
gonna
them.
really hate my card when we go to our theory crafting session and I tell you what my card is. You're gonna hate my card with a
I've
passion.
already read what it is. It's fine.
You hate you can hate it all you want. But no, seriously though. So okay, but so I get you don't understand it, but the difference is now that when you see this list, are you gonna go, oh, I don't you now don't have to worry whether they can land on rocks or not because they're like anybody that flies them has the amount of cards you need for them. If you own 7 droids, you own 7 of those effing grappling struts. I mean, at this point, there's zero reason for me to ever not put them on there, even if I never use them. Before I could reduce a point, now I don't. So does this make it simpler? And that's kind of the bigger question. Does this make this simpler for you as an opposing player when you see this? Now you don't have to try to remember which one hits the rock and which one doesn't because you don't.
I enjoy that
Okay,
because in pre this, it was just one of those situations where when you played them, I think there were only a certain number of them you could have, though, right? Like you couldn't have struts on every ship; they were limited, right? They were 3 dot limited or something like that. Am I
no,
wrong on that one?
for the ships,
For landing struts.
no, no, you can have them on everyone.
Oh, that was the discords that are 3 dot
Discords
limited,
are.
right?
Yep.
Okay. Um, I think that because most people only put the struts on some ships or would only fly 4 into the rocks and then use the other 4 to kinda dance around if they needed to. Um, when that was a huge meta, I flew seismics. So I said, "Screw your rocks." But go ahead and land on them. 'em. Imma blow it up while you're on it. But, I mean, for me, it's just one of those things where, like, I expect it. If I sit down across from anyone that's playing more than 1 tub or more than 1, TFD, I just assume that they have those on there, and I try to set as many rocks on my side of the board as possible. Inevitably, they're gonna wind up with 1 on their side because the second placement for them, they're gonna put a rock over there. Um, but I just try to keep the rocks as far away from them as I possibly can, or put as many gas clouds over there because you can't land on a gas cloud.
Nope.
And that's just the way I work when it comes to that. So,
Hmm. All right. So the next one is, oh, let's go back to the screen. You can do. We can put them back
are
up.
you the
Let's.
Besh and Esk?
Yep. Go ahead and bring both those up.
All right.
Um, because yeah, well, obviously one of them is 1 point, the other one's free. Um, I'm excited for the free one personally, and I apologize. I don't know why they're so small. I have the thing turned all the way up. So Ask I'm is the free one. Besh is the 1 point. So
Mhm.
essentially, if your V wing wants to run bombs, it's 1 point.
Yep, and I understand that. I mean, you're adding an upgrade slot. You're not just changing the way the ship maneuvers. You're adding the ability to play a completely different way. So an extra point there is fine. Um, I don't know that I would ever really. I mean, obviously, I'm gonna put Esk on because it's free and it's an interesting little effect. But I don't know at any point in time that I'm gonna roll enough crits with a V wing that I'm gonna want to spend 2 reoccurring energy to do ion tokens instead of crits. Like crits are always better than ion tokens.
And I think the only reason this can be free is because I don't believe there's missile slots or torpedo slots on these things at all. So, because can you imagine Esk if you could freaking fly with like APTs on them,
Oh
right?
yeah, for sure, yeah. Because then that makes it a little bit more worth it because you have the ability to auto correct
5 damage.
dice into crits.
Yep. No, thank you. Happy that's not happy you can't do that. So I never understood the Esk. I'm kind of excited by it. I never 100% understood it just because of the pure fact that it's like you're rolling 2 to 3 dice. That's it.
I mean,
Yep.
if you could compare it or at least put it on there with like marksmanship, right? On the Shadow Squadron escort, you can throw marksmanship on for 1 point, and basically you have the ability to spend 2 charges to convert your free marksmanship crit into an ion token, which again against a small base ship, that's amazing. Against a large base ship, unless I'm willing to fly 3 shadow squadrons that all have marksmanship and they all catch your large base ship in their bullseye arc,
Yeah.
be able to cough up a crit in order to ion your large base ship. I would rather deal 3 crits.
Yep. And I think Nabi the different in my opinion here's the difference. And because I'm rolling so few dice, I can run 6 of these effing things with the ion piece, right? The difference is with Besh is I spend that target lock, boom, I get a free hit result. It's a free damage with that target lock. So if I don't need without re-rolling, right? With Esk though, yeah, I could change it in there. But if I'm gonna run 6 of these, I'm gonna focus fire is what I'm gonna do. And if I could get through the
I see
shields,
that.
I don't want to do ions.
I guess I see that point, Nabi. I guess I see that point. So it's but you do it before rolling attack dice. But what Nabi's saying is with like an ion cannon, right? You have to hit.
Yep,
So if I roll 3 hits and you roll 3 evades, my ion cannon does nothing. With Esk, I roll 2 hits and a crit. You still roll 3 evades. I still ion you.
fair enough. All right, I guess you know what? That's probably a fair thing, I guess.
I didn't look at it that way, Nabi. So thank you for providing that.
But I still think I think it should be looked at, and I think if we're gonna go into a jam meta, right? If we're gonna be in jam meta hell, then
Or wait,
peop
no, wait. Nabi is saying I'm wrong. No, you only need to hit. The crit goes to Ion. It means Ion hits for 1, then you just do 1 damage. I mean, okay, so Ion Cannon, if you just hit for 1, then you do damage.
Yes, you don't get the
With
ion.
with this, it doesn't matter. You put the Ion through no matter what instead of the damage.
Yes.
And I agree, Nabi, for small base ships, I think this is a very good upgrade. I think Esk is great if I'm flying against a droid swarm, or if I'm flying against another small, like an A-wing swarm or another small base ship swarm. But the minute you get into medium and large base ships, Besh edges Esk all day because of the bomb slot, personally.
Yep. And I guess it just depends. Do you want to run 5 or do you want to run 6? You pick.
Yep.
Gotta pick. Pick, pick, pick. Can you run 7 of them? Oh, you should look that up.
Doing it right now.
Because you know me. You know me. I love my
No, because
swarms.
they're at base with 0 cost Esk on them. The I2 is 26 points.
All right. All right. Anyway, so we'll move past
You
those.
could fit 6, but when you get to 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, no, hold on. You can fit 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, you can fit 7 at 182.
Oh man, no way.
And that's with Esk on all of them because Esk is 0. So you can fit 7 V Wings into a list and still have 18 points for upgrades.
All right. Sounds like Chris needs some more V Wings. Man, I'm gonna have a Republic swarm. This sounds fun. Sounds fun. All right. So the next one is you want to bring you get rid of those. You can bring Inception Booster, whatever it's called.
Yep.
That's the next one. It's 1 point.
Intercept booster.
Yep. You know,
this will show us both of them.
nope.
Just kidding.
Nope. They're all fucked up. So I think now that these have gone down to 1 point, originally I was not sold on the intercept booster beforehand. Going down to 1 point, if you want to run, because they're not standardized, you can run them the way you want to run them. I think they're pretty good actually. And I think I had a list of 4 of these with intercept booster and some other upgrades on them. I thought again they pop really easily. Um, and that's the larger issue because I don't get double mods as much with them. But I think if you have like a mixed squad with these, I think this is actually really good. And that slam action is just like you could slam into a target lock. I mean, there you go. Thanks. I'll do that any day. I can't shoot anyway, so you know, I like it personally. 1 point, Charles. What do you think?
I feel bad for Tri Fighters. I wish they were better.
So you say this should be a free upgrade. That's what you're telling me.
I wouldn't care if it was a free upgrade because I mean, realistically, what do you get out of it? Right? You get to move fast. And
Yeah.
during the system phase, you gain a disarm token unless you flip the card. So you have 3 turns potentially, right? That you don't get to shoot and you just get to set up.
Mhm.
Or you choose to do your a 3 or 4 straight and then slam a 3 or 4 straight, then stress into your target lock, then the next system phase choose to flip the card at when it's convenient to use. So it's like having a cloaking device that just gives you more speed.
Yeah. You wanna know what I did with you wanna know what these are really fun for? And
What's
As Nabi was making fun of me earlier for essentially just sitting in the middle of the board. These are great to mess with your opponent with. Like, you can pretend you're gonna joust them and then just run the other way. Seriously. Like, I'm dead serious. It's insane. I did that. You go 3 forward, and then you just go 3 to the right. 3 forward, 3 to the left. Come all the way back. You can literally just kinda go in a circle. It's horrible. It's horrible. Um, but they're really good at messing around with people. I think. They should be free, personally. Give it to me for free. I would run them. I don't run very many Tri-Fighters, though,
I
anymore.
don't
I
think
did run
many
them when
people
they
do.
first I ran them when they first came out, and they were fun, but they're a little different. Alright, so the next 2 are the calibrated laser targeting system and Delta 7B. I don't think we really need to go through you don't need to bring those up.
No,
It
everybody knows what they do. No one, it's nothing new. I don't think either of them are free anymore, are
No,
they?
they're not. No. So I don't know those. Whatever they are what they are. The next one is wartime loadout. There we go.
That's the new one that came out with the Resistance Y-wing.
Yep, and it is standardized, so you have to have it on all of them. It's 4 points. It adds missile slots to them. Um, and I don't know, like it takes away their their ability to have the free calculate token with them. But on the opposite
Mhm.
side, it's giving you a white target lock, giving you a reload action,
And 2
um,
shields.
and 2 shields for 4 points. I think this is I think people again, I think this is a sleeper. I think you again, you if you're gonna run a Y-wing swarm, this probably doesn't work, but if you're gonna run 1, maybe 2 Y-wings, that's just an extra 8 points. I think this is worth it. You're probably gonna be using it, and on top of that, if the defender's in your bullseye, you can't cancel crits. So,
I
like,
was gonna say
it's just
I've
free.
paid 4 to 6 points for a shield upgrade depending on the initiative of the ship.
Yeah.
So spending 4 to get 2 shields. Crap, on Advanced Sensors Guri, you put Virago and shield upgrade and you spent 12 points to get 2 shields there. So spending 4 points to lower the difficulty of my target lock, give me a reload and 2 shields? Yeah, I'll do that.
Yep. You do lose that secondary mod, but if you think about it, those Y wings, you're taking the other upgrades anyway. You're taking an engine upgrade, you're taking a targeting computer, you're taking something anyway, with them. So I don't like losing the free calculate, but I understand why we have to do that. And I think the big thing again, what do you have? That you have a marksmanship, but it doesn't matter whether you're in the rear arc or not, right? That's
Right.
that's free.
It's not even marksmanship. You basically give yourself auto blasters
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's true. Yep.
because your crit results can't. Yes, you
Sorry,
want
it's not
marksmanship. Yeah, marksmanship gives you the crit, but auto blasters makes your crits uncancelable. And that's what Devastating Barrage does. As long as I can barrel roll or keep you in that bullseye arc, when I fire at you, regardless of where I'm at, you're going to, you know what I mean? Especially with like an APT or, some sort of a torpedo or missile that gives me an auto crit, that's guaranteed damage because you can't cancel it out. So you put marksmanship with that. And now I've got 2 free crits. If you're in my bullseye, that's 2 crits you can't block. And on an ace, that's dead.
Yeah, I don't know. I think originally I thought wartime loadout at the 4 point cost was fair. I'm kind of again, you can still burn these things down. It's going to be harder to get. In fairness, it will be a lot harder to get a bullseye of the Y wing. Um, but not if you're flying into a swarm or something. I don't know, something like that. So I think on those high initiative Y wings, this wartime loadout is worth it,
So
100%.
here's where I would disagree with you on harder to get the bullseye arc. When I look at Nicholas God's Godshot list, where he's flying that god awful Kimagila fighter, whose ability is if it catches you in its bullseye, you strip a token or take a damage. How many times in a single game did he, with a medium base ship, do some weird off angle through 4 or 5 ships and was able to, just plug through one off damage or get 4 or 5 damage off in a round or 2 rounds consecutively by keeping people in a bump train and then getting that bullseye lock in place. So you just run a bunch of blockers in front of your wartime loadout and then go shoot.
All right, that's probably fair. Ugh. I don't know. We'll see if it becomes more prominent coming up here. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. I think it's an interesting concept. Originally I thought it would the 4 points was too much, but now I kind of think now I'm kind of saying I guess I missed all of those bullseye things, and I think there's things you can do with these Y wings, and maybe tomorrow at my local I'll do it. Don't know.
Bust them out.
Yeah, maybe. I bought 2 of them, so all right. So for the last segment that we wanted to cover tonight was kind of a theory crafting segment, right? And I say that because we talk about these meta things, we talk about all the ships and everything that exists, but what does Chris love about certain ships, right? Like certain things in X-wing is really awesome. Yep. And so what I wanted to do is I think I want to go ahead and Charles, why don't you go ahead and tell us your ideas for a new ship or a new pilot, right? I didn't
So
say
I
ship, but I think it's fine if you want to come up with a new ship and a new pilot. Um, I want to talk about what are the slots, what are the initiatives. So why don't you go ahead and kick us off real quick?
so I'm gonna lean a little bit on you, right? Because I love the character. I loved his crew card that we've gotten for him. But as someone who has not watched a lot of the cartoons, Clone Wars and the such, I'm not super hyper familiar with him. But I think that, and as much as this hurts me to say it, I'd love to see CIS get the Rogue class Porax 38 starfighter, and have Cad Bane as the named ship. You could have the Xanadu Blood title, which would grant a cloaking device to the ship because that was the major modification that Cad Bane gave to it. Um, Also, you could have other pilots like the IG 1000 Magna Guard, which is the pilot the ship was essentially designed for before he modified it to make it his ship. Um, Visually, it looks a lot like a Tub or a Droid Federation fighter. It's made by Bactoid, so you do get that feel of a standardized CIS ship. But being able to have Cad Bane fly it, I think would be super cool. Um, I don't know about Cad's pilot skills, right? I don't know if there were like some crazy space battles that showed off how amazing he was. So without that knowledge, I would probably float him middle to lower. Um,
Yep.
um, and then, crew slot potentially, I would say yes. Cannon slot because it's a forward facing kind of a fighter. And that's kind of where I would go with that. Probably maybe one shield, three hull, maybe make it like an M3A fighter because it's a smaller ship. It looks very visually similar to what I would consider like a drone.
Yeah. And so then it would have to be pretty cheap if that's the case, right? I mean, those M3As are what? Well, I think they're 31 now, but
Well, I mean, if you put a good pilot like Sarisu, or even you get into like Genesis Red and stuff like that, they're 30 or 40 points.
so in terms of pilot skill, if you watch like the newer Bad Batch, like Cad Bane is essentially he has somebody else on board with him. He didn't really have any action, he didn't really need anything. In Bad Batch, he was didn't his pilot skills are nothing, right? It's all his gunmanship skills, what he does on the ground. In Clone Wars, you see he has a little bit more. He's able to outmaneuver, I can't remember who it was, but I believe he's able to outmaneuver a couple of different Jedis. He's really good at that. It's really more about his secretive aspect, right? Like he's one step ahead of the game to some extent, you know.
So
So I
maybe
would
allow him to have some sort of like a preposition ability or like a sense or something like that built in as
yeah,
well.
something like that. Yeah. Yes, I kind of would see that as what I would probably go with, right? If you're picking Cad, like Cad's my new guy. Yeah, it's kind of like that. He's going to be able to sense. It's kind of he doesn't have sense because he doesn't have the force, but it's kind of similar to that, right? He's smart
Like
enough to know the
informant
game
or
ahead.
something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah, some sort of built in like that. And then my other theory crafting was just it's a stupid thing because to be fair, the character only exists in one movie and it's not even really the character, right? But I would like to see a Bosch crew, um, which would be a situational awareness. There you go, Navi. But I'd like to see a Bosch crew for those that are not familiar, which probably is going to be no one. Bosch is the character that Leia dressed as to rescue Han from Jabba's palace. Bosch decided to put a hit out on a Black Sun crime lord, and that resulted in his death, which resulted in Leia being able to impersonate him. I just think it'd be fun to have some sort of a like a single force because Leia is force sensitive, a single force crew that could exist on a scum ship, and that's really all it does because she really didn't do anything other than show up and try to bargain. She had a thermal detonator in her hand, so I don't know if it gives you like a single charge thermal detonator and a force point.
it could. I don't know. Yeah, so Leia in Star Wars Destiny, she was a card. She was an actual character. I don't remember what she did. Now that you mention that, now I gotta look that up because I don't know what she did.
Psych
Um,
J, what do you mean? What would you split scum into two factions for?
I don't know about that. So Leia in Destiny, Leia Bouche, essentially you can include yellow villain cards in your deck, so you could have villain cards even though you're a hero. And if you hit your special, you deal 2 damage to an all opponent's character unless they give you a resource. So
New
like,
title, Explosive Negotiator.
yeah, there you go. So I think Leia would be. I think that would be a fun little gimmick. All right. So now mine, and you cannot guess, Charles. So in the chat, I can't remember how many people guessed.
I'd only seen one thus far.
All right. So anybody have a guess what Tanner's would be?
What is Chris Tanner's theory crafted pilot? Does anybody want to guess?
Do 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 do. If you've been watching the show since the beginning, it's probably an easy one. But you have to go all the way back to the beginning.
I'll give you a hint. It's not Torkel Mux.
It's not Torkel Mux. And how about this? It's in Armada, but not in X-Wing. It's in Star Wars Destiny, but not in X-Wing. There is 2 cards in Star Wars Destiny that represent this character. By now, you should know I don't play Scum. Not very often.
Can
I
I
did
give a
play
dumb
Scum in a
hint?
tournament.
But it's gonna get. I think my hint's gonna give it away.
All right, no good guesses.
He's blue. Da ba dee da ba
That would 100% give it away. If you don't know who that is by now, blue and red. It is definitely not a Scum thing. I am not a Scum player, so Thrawn, Thrawn, Commander Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn, whatever you want to call him. Thrawn is literally like my favorite character. Yeah, I have read every one of the Thrawn books at least once, and some of them I've read twice. So it's like, Jay, just wait. I have 2 propositions for this pilot. I say that he is a pilot and he can be a crew card. So we're gonna start with pilot first.
So hold
I
on. I'm gonna ask a question.
Yeah, go
As
ahead.
some, the only Thrawn books that I've read were the original Heir to the Empire trilogy, pre X-wing ever existing. Thrawn was like a Grand Admiral at that point and only really commanded fleets, right? From
Yep.
capital starships. Did he ever actually fly a fighter ship at any point?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So the answer is, did he ever fly the ships? Yes. Did he ever have to see combat really with the ships? Not quite so much.
Oh, okay.
But he had the ability to, and in his pilot school or whatever they called the academy for them, he showed the ability to do some of those things. So and he also, like, there's one part where he talks through with Darth Vader, and there's actually a discussion about what they're. I guess this really isn't a spoiler because it's, how many years later now, but um essentially, yeah, he's mainly a shuttle guy, but he helped design the TIE Defender, right? You know, and he has experience with the TIE fighter. So my theory is you could put him in a TIE Defender, a TIE fighter, and a Lambda shuttle. That's my theory. Um,
Sure.
I don't. I want to see him as a crew card too, and I have a feeling if they ever release it, it would only be a crew card. But to me, I think we should get a pilot Thrawn. Give me a pilot Thrawn because I know he could do this, right? So his ability would be spend 2 energy to perform a boost or barrel roll before you start activation. This specific action does not prevent you from performing another boost or barrel roll during your end of activation phase. So essentially, if you want to barrel roll and activate, go 2 forward and barrel roll a second time, you can do it. 100%. Yeah, kind of Jurajov, except yes, it's essentially, but it's either a barrel roll or a boost. You get 2 energy. In my opinion, it would be a 2 energy activation. You can only re up 1 energy every time. So Yeah, that's what I'm saying is it's not I don't know how you would word it because technically I don't think this exists in X-Wing. I don't think you can perform 2 barrel rolls no matter what. You can't barrel roll and then be granted a barrel roll. I don't think that's how that works. But in this case, that's what I'm saying is for this specific character, he would be able to do that. Um, and I also believe that all the maneuvers, that he would be able to do would be white. So essentially that barrel roller or boost
Oh
is not
yeah,
gonna
you're
be a
right,
red
Nobby.
action.
Baby Annie can. Baby Annie's pre-positioned barrel roll does not count as a barrel roll for an action.
Oh,
So he is able to barrel roll twice. So it's something that exists in game. So you're not too far off thinking
okay.
that Thrawn would be able to do it.
There we go. The idea is because Thrawn is very super intelligent. He's able to pre-guess maneuvers based on his foes and opposition. So that's my theory is how you would do that. I believe he would be an Initiative 6 pilot. And that's because I would not want him anything less. As a crew card, and this is where it gets a little interesting. As a crew card, right? He would have the ability to spend 2 energy to coordinate that exact same ability to any ship, just like a Palpatine. And if you want to reduce the cost, then you would limit it to within X amount of, range, right? So Palpatine is what, 14, 15 points now, and you could coordinate all over the board. So this would be the same thing. It would be, you would spend 2 energy, you'd be able to coordinate that as whatever you want to call it, and it would be a free action and you could still perform another action. So like with Vader, it would be insanely amazing, which when you put Vader and Thrawn together, they were very good. Um, the other thing I believe is that you can take one of your damage cards, flip it face up, and recover an energy. If for crew only. You could not do this with a pilot because that would be way too broken. But with a crew, so you put him on a Lando, right? He's on a Lambda crew. He you take the damage, you have a face down damage card, you can go ahead and flip it back up and then you can gain two things. So you can essentially start killing off your lambda ship faster. Double crew slot. I don't know. You might almost have. Honestly, you might almost have to. Psych J. I don't know. I'd have to go. I did not do enough research to tell you how many how many ships can take one crew versus two. Um, and really, I think this has to be probably an Empire only. Unfortunately, I don't know where you would. I mean, I guess you could put it in Republic because technically he meets Anakin in Republic, right? So
Does
I
he?
guess yep. He meets before he becomes Vader. He meets Anakin, and he helped save Padme. Actually, so
It must be one of the books I haven't read yet.
yeah, it's all the newer ones. All
Oh,
the
gotcha.
new ones are so much better than the original. The originals are good. Don't get me wrong, but the new ones really just I just can't wait till Thrawn shows up in all these damn shows and movies we're getting. You know.
Yeah, I agree, Nabi. Anything that has no range restriction has to be very careful.
Yep, and that's fine. That would be a negotiate. That would be like a negotiation point, right? Like if I were designing these cards, that's where the team would come back and say, "Well, no, this is what happens when you do this." But fine, that's probably a fair estimate. You know.
Well, I mean, to be fair, spending 2 energy to coordinate a boost barrel roll to a friendly ship, um, because it's a coordinate action, right? Because you're
Yep.
coordinating, I guess that would have a built-in range limit of 2, 3, I think. 2 in 2 normally, 3 in bullseye. If you could get one of your friendly ships in bullseye, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. No, and I agree. Like I said, I mean, I just know Palpatine has the ability to do it wide range, and that's why Palpatine's very
Right. That's why
good.
Palpatine's a double crew slot and
Yeah.
still like 11 or 12 points.
Yeah, so I don't know. Again, that would be like I said. This is first pass. This is just me saying, "Hey, I want Thrawn in the game." For fuck's sake, AMG, I really want Thrawn in the game. Like FFG didn't listen. Y'all need to figure this shit out because I'm telling you right now, this is a moneymaker, and I don't want to wait 6 years. I don't want the Ahsoka show come out and then I get my Thrawn like 6 years later. Design that shit now. If you need help, I was a tester at one point. Send me an email. I don't care. I'll fucking help you test that. Anyway, now I'm just getting on the Chris bandwagon band train here. So, um, I don't know. Good show tonight.
Yeah.
Anything else thoughts you have, Charles?
Um, no. I would say that with LVO on the horizon, if anybody wants to get practice games in or do reps, I'm available most evenings and I'm more than happy to play games. There you go, Psych J. Hondo Pilot would be fun. I kind of like the idea of figuring Dian in the modal nodes. I don't know what I would do for a crew for that. Would be hilarious or Max Revo. Um, but I don't know. I'm super excited for the future of this game. Um, it's ran for quite some time. I've made a lot of good friends on it, and I'm super excited that we are able to sit around and theory craft and stuff like this. So, but no, really good show tonight, and I thank everybody for hanging out with us and chit chatting.
Yep.
I'm down for a live action Barris, Catherine.
See, I don't know if they'll do that. I don't know. You never know, I guess, right? Disney does lots of things. We got a live
Disney
action
does
Boba Fett
whatever they
show,
want.
so
Yeah. And oh,
but we're not gonna go down that road because that's another half-hour conversation.
if anybody are Lego heads, rumor on the street is the next in the helmet series will be the Mandalorian helmet. So, which means I'll have to buy it and put it in my cabinet. So, and
Awesome.
Build a Bear Workshop just released a Boba Fett bear that I will probably be going to get this weekend. So,
Well, there you go. All right.
because happy Halloween, Psych J.
Yeah, with be happy out. Not
Oh,
Halloween yet.
Chris, I wanted
Mm,
to tell you that image that you put in our chat,
yep.
I am going to do everything that I can to make that my Halloween costume next year.
Oh, yeah?
The Macho Mandalorian, heck yeah. Oh yeah. This is the way, brother.
There you go. I thought you'd like that. I know you like wrestling, so I thought you get a kick out of that.
That's
I don't remember where
amazing.
I got that stupid thing from, but it showed up. I'm in enough of those meme things on Facebook that I get every once in a while I get flooded with Star Wars memes. So,
I am not upset at you, sir.
all right. So, as we wrap the show up, thank you all for joining us tonight. If you have not, make sure you click like and subscribe, join our Discord, join us on Patreon, or join us on YouTube. I do think I accidentally forgot to upload the podcast from last week, so I apologize to any podcast listeners. That is my bad. I was traveling and did not realize that it did not actually upload. So I have double work to do tomorrow. We will be back for sure on Tuesday and Thursday streaming games on Tuesdays and Thursday this week. Tuesdays are going to be our Krayt Cup games, and Thursday will be our open format free for all play in the community type games. So we have two for the 9-ish, 10-ish spot. If anybody wants to take the 7:30 spot, I have one reservation. But if anybody else wants to play around the 7:30 p.m. Eastern time mark, you can head over to the link in our Discord and we will and add yourself to the document. Thank you all. Have a good night, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Planning Phase Syndicate. Thank you all. Have a good night.